What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Inside Jays podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, and in this episode, we're going to be doing our first Superstar Spotlight. And I figured, what better way to start off our Superstar Spotlight feature than with a guy who's been absolutely lighting it up, at least as of late. None other than George Springer. Now, don't get me wrong. I know at the start, or actually I should say not at the start, but before the season even started, I heard the chatter from Blue Jays fans. I heard a lot of people saying, get rid of this guy. Trade him. Get rid of this bum. We want him off the team. He has not, panned out. We signed this guy 5 years ago, or a little over five years ago, and he's injury prone. He keeps getting hurt. He's not really been healthy. Get rid of him, trade him, boot him out. You guys, are you guys saying that now? I mean, for one, I've always been a believer in George Springer. And yes, he's had his injury troubles and he's had his struggles, but are you guys still wanting to trade him now? I didn't think so. So, that being said, let's go over and talk about George Springer and how he's been playing for the last little bit, and basically talk about how he is back to doing damage for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, we're going to be going over an article from Blue Jays Nation, done a couple of days ago, just talking about George Springer, and it's written by Damon of Blue Jays Nation, so let's not waste any more time and dive right into it. The best way to describe the Toronto Blue Jays' identity this season is a ball club that's received significant improvement from internal candidates. The nucleus of this team is largely the same as it was last year, and they're the biggest contributors of the group. Their two big-ticket additions for the batting order, Andres Jimenez and Anthony Santander, have either relatively underperformed or been hurt for a good portion of the season, or an injury has impacted their play on the field. On the flip side, Addison Barger has been a massive shot in the arm for this lineup, and Alejandro Kirk looks like the first half of 2022 version of himself. There hasn't been a more impactful and improbable bounce back for this Blue Jays lineup than George Springer. The now 35-year-old is enjoying a renaissance season, leading the team amongst qualified hitters in home runs, OPS, and WRC+, heading into tonight's game against the Yankees. Obviously, this article was written prior to the Yankees game, as well as during this series. Springer has been an absolute revelation this season. All of his batted ball metrics have skyrocketed, his walk rate has jumped, and his strikeout rate, while higher than last year, is still comfortably below league average. The Connecticut native is barreling baseballs at a 92nd percentile rate. His expected slugging percentage has jumped 0.137 points from last year and sits in the 91st percentile. And he's done all of this while maintaining an elite chase rate of just 20.2%. This is the profile of an elite hitter, and it's no surprise that Springer's WRC plus on the season currently holds at a pristine 141. Springer's ideology at the plate has shifted from trying to get on base to trying to hit the ball hard and do damage using his A-swing. Dan Shulman was on the JD Bunkus podcast on Tuesday and shared that he had a conversation with Springer in spring training last year for the season and asked George what his goals were for the season. Springer had said, get on base for Vladdy. This year, Shulman once again asked the veteran outfielder what he wanted to accomplish for the season, and Springer's answer was radically different. Hit the ball out of the ballpark. so far this season, he's done exactly that, and one of the main reasons for his success has been his success against breaking balls, something that gave the right-handed bat a lot of problems in 2024. Once again, the name of the game for Springer has been slug. He is simply slugging the crap out of the ball this season, and that's his game. This is not a contact-oriented bat who's looking to spray the ball around the diamond and rack up a bunch of hits. This is a damaged bat who's looking for the ball in a certain quadrant of the strike zone and doing significant damage when he gets it. There may not have been a better demonstration of this than what Springer did on Canada Day against Yankees ace Max Fried. The Yankees' southpaw was locked in a 6-pitch battle with the Blue Jays' DH. The pitch sequencing had gone as follows: a 92-mile-per-hour sinker, an 80-mile-per-hour sweeper, an 86-mile-per-hour changeup, a 96-mile-per-hour fastball, a 96-mile-per-hour fastball. Springer had whiffed on the sweeper and the changeup, taking the first foul ball, taking the first fastball and fouled off the second. At this point, it was a 2-2 count, and Fried decided to go to his curveball for the first time in the at-bat, pitch that had produced a .206 average and a .312 slugging against thus far this season. Springer kept his front hip in check from flaring out, waited back on the 77-mile-per-hour offering on the outside corner, and hooked it into the left field center field bleachers with basically a one-handed swing. And then an unbelievably impressive ending to an even more impressive plate appearance against one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. Springer is just one of many Blue Jays enjoying a major bounce-back breakout campaign. I just lost where I was. They've shown an uncanny resilience to them. It hasn't been the case for a very long time. The ability to get punched in the mouth and immediately punch back has been a part of their DNA all season. It's an incredibly fun brand of baseball to watch day in and day out, especially on the offensive side of things. That is a testament to the work David Popkins, Lou Inaudi, and Hunter Mentz have done with the position players who have walked into that clubhouse this season. Coaching matters. Philosophy matters. Players buying into what you're trying to sell matters. No single individual player embodies this mindset better than the season's version of George Springer. Now let's take a look at another article that once again talks about the renaissance that we mentioned, highlighted especially in particular this massive series that Springer had against the New York Yankees. In 1997, it was the summer of George. 18 years later, it's the summer of George again. Of course, the first summer of George depicted the fictional exploits of Seinfeld character George Costanza after being fired by the New York Yankees. The current day summer of George has been the very real resurgence of Toronto Blue Jays outfielder George Springer, who after struggling last season has been the best hitter on the team in 2025. Sorry, Tyler Henneman. There are more similarities between the neurotic, self-loathing Costanza and the professional baseball player Springer than one would think. Costanza, often insecure and self-sabotaging, was wholly unhappy and unsuccessful before becoming unemployed. It took hitting that low to inspire him to make changes and embrace what life had to offer. Springer, too, reached a low in 2024, posting the worst qualified season of his career in almost every major offensive category, and his first as a below-league average hitter by WRC+, which was a 94. He even spent stretches as the worst qualified hitter in the majors. This season, Springer's made a slew of changes and has seen a renaissance at the plate, fresh off the biggest game of his Blue Jays career, a 2-home run, 7 RBI Canada Day showing against the bitter rival Yankees, during which he hit the second ever Canada Day Grand Slam in Blue Jays history. Springer leads the team with 15 home runs in .891 OPS and a .149 WRC+. It's a stark contrast to his performance last season. I'll leave a link to the article in the description down below, as it has some graphs that you guys can check out. But I'm just going to read this one because it's very easy to read. Basically, we're going to be comparing his 2024 stats to his 2025 stats. So the first stat I'll read will be from 2024. So let's take a look at his average was 220 in 2024. His average in 2025 is 281. His on-base percentage was a 303 in 2024. In 2025, it is a 378. His slugging percentage, it was a 371 in 2024. It is a 513 here in 2025. His OPS is 674, or it was 674 in 2024. And in 2025, his OPS is a 891. And then his WRC plus, as we mentioned, was a 94 in 2024. And then his WRC plus in 2025 is a 149. The year-to-year increase in his slash line is top 10 in every category. Springer is also top 5 in increases by quality of contact measures, such as XISO and XWOBA. Sorry, I do not know what that means particularly. I will look that up. On contact, these stats are calculated based on the exit velocity and launch angle of the ball, with the probability of a single, double, triple, and home run being assigned to each batted ball based on comparable batted balls in the StatCast era. He's hitting the ball harder. His average exit velo and hard hit percentage have jumped from the 20th and 34th percentile to 53rd and 68th, respectively. But where the biggest change has been his launch angle, with the percentage he hits the ball in the sweet spot between 8 and 32 degrees, jumping from the 6th percentile to 96th, the third largest increase in baseball. So how did Springer turn his career around in his age 35 season after appearing destined for decline? With wholesale changes across the board, from where he hits in the order and how much he plays in the field, to adjustments to his approach and mechanics. Before the season, 4,609 of Springer's 6,104 plate appearances, 76%, had come in the leadoff spot. While he was moved down in the order amid his struggles last season, he still hit leadoff 74% of the time in 2024. He is yet to lead the Blue Jays lineup in 2025. How much impact, if any, this had on Springer's production is impossible to quantify, and due to his increase in OBP and pitches per plate appearance, his offensive profile fits the mold of a leadoff hitter better than anyone on the team. Yet, given how well he's performing, hitting in the middle of the lineup, it's understandable if the team is hesitant to mess with a good thing. When Springer is happy, the Blue Jays are thriving. The other significant change in Springer's deployment has been his increase in DH days. In 2025, he's played only 41 games in the field and been the self-declared offensive specialist 37 times. In his previous 2 seasons in Toronto, Springer had played 257 of 298 games in the field, which was 86%, compared to the near-even split he's seeing now, while he's had a much better offensive track record when also playing a defensive position throughout his career. Springer's DH versus non-DH splits are close to even this season, leaning in favor of the days he's off his feet, particularly when it comes to power. And once again, it has another graph that highlights some stats. His home runs as a DH so far here in 2025, 12. His home runs as a non-DH so far this year, 3. His on-base percentage is a 379 as a DH, while a 380 as a non-DH. His slugging percentage is a 574 as a DH, and then his slugging percentage as a non-DH is 463. His OPS as a DH is 953, and then as a non-DH it is 842. His WRC plus as a DH is 163, and his WRC plus as a non-DH is 137. The 6'1" outfielder was originally moved from center to right in 2023 to mitigate wear and tear on his aging body. Few outfielders of his size or larger continue playing center into their mid to late 30s. was effective as Springer averaged 149.5 games per season over the last two, compared to 105.5 over his first two campaigns in Toronto. Correlation isn't causation, so it's hard to quantify the exact impact this has had on his production. If anything, it certainly hasn't hurt to have Springer off his feet more, and the 12-year MLB veteran has embraced it. When it comes to approach, Springer is often swinging harder when he does take a hack, but has been less aggressive all around. He's swinging less both at pitches in the zone and overall, over 4% less in both categories than last season, a sizable difference. He's been laying off pitches he can't drive, whether they're in the zone or not, waiting until he gets the offering he's looking for, and teeing off with his A swing. New hitting coach David Popkins' philosophy has placed a great deal of emphasis on players getting off their best swings, and Springer has been one of the main subjects of that adjustment. Springer's fast swing rate, the percentage of his swings that are 75 miles per hour or greater, is up to 33.6% from 22.3% in 2024. Because of that, he's whiffing nearly 3% more often, yet his strikeout rate has only increased by 1.2% and is still below league average. Trading that slight increase in Ks for the surge in both results and peripherals we outlined above is a no-brainer. When it comes to the mechanics that are making it all possible, StatCast's new swing data tells us that the width of Springer's stance, his swing path tilt, and ideal attack angle have all increased. The first two have allowed Springer to flatten out his bat path, resulting in the ideal attack angle percentage jumping. That explains the massive jump and how often he finds the sweet spot with his launch angle. His ground ball rate dropped from 49.8% last year to 38.2% in 2025, one of the largest drops across the major leagues. There's been nothing cheap about Springer's dingers either. Some of his latest coming off a gauntlet of top pitchers: Luke Weaver, Max Fried, Hunter Gaddis, and Griffin Jax. George Springer's resurgence is in full swing. His Canada Day Grand Slam serving as the cherry on top, and while Costanza's summer met a dismal end, of course it did, there's no indication that Springer's will. Either way, enjoy the moment, taste the fruits, and let the juice run down your chin. It's the summer of George for the Toronto Blue Jays. So that is our superstar spotlight on George Springer. As I mentioned at the start of this video, I've always been a fan of George. Obviously I remember, the Blue Jays announcing that signing, a little over 5 years ago. And I'll admit, I did not know who George Springer was. So I obviously looked him up and was like, oh, he was a part of the Houston Astros. Yeah, that Houston Astros that won the world, that cheated to win the World Series. And he was a part of that team. Clearly, certain people were involved in that. I didn't get the feeling that George was a part of that. It's just my personal opinion on it. And I was like, okay, this guy has won a World Series. This guy's a stud. And let's see how he is. And I heard obviously great things about him as a fielder. And since that first Blue Jays game that I watched with George Springer in the lineup, I loved him. Not just the player, but George Springer, the person. You've heard all these stories about George and how he's just an amazing human being. He's always laughing. He's always smiling, having a good time. You've seen him with Vladdy, with Teoscar when Teo was still here. You just saw him goofing around. How can you not like George Springer? So, once again, I'm completely ecstatic to see that George is having a bounce-back season. And, the fact that he's changed some things when it comes to his swing, and just the fact that he is, absolutely lights out right now. He is absolutely incredible, especially considering his age. And hopefully he can continue this for the rest of the season. But that's going to do it for this first Jays Superstar Spotlight on none other than George Springer. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date on all your Blue Jays content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find us on all social media platforms. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok at Inside Jays Pod. You can also, if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Once again, I'm Tyler. This is the Inside Jays Podcast. Lights up. Let's go, Blue Jays.